So today we'll be talking about two different applications, one that is used for the management of software assets and the other one that is for universal discovery. Individually, they're two strong products, but when you put them together, they become the perfect match for you. And we'll talk about why that is the case. The first stop on this journey is to discuss what hybrid IT is and why it's important to understand this concept. The difficulty is that hybrid IT makes gaining visibility to your IT infrastructure very difficult. That IT infrastructure is no longer just placed in one location in your own data center. It can actually exist across many locations. It can exist across AWS or Azure or GCP cloud infrastructures. It can exist on premises in a virtual environment or even in a containerized environment. Universal Discovery can come along and bring all of this information into a single location. Universal Discovery has the ability to capture your infrastructure regardless of the platform upon which it is deployed. Virtualized environments, containerized environments, cloud environments, it really doesn't matter. That data can be made visible by Universal Discovery and then placed into the Universal CMDB, giving you visibility to the whole platform in a single location. So why is more visibility required? Well, there are a collection of use cases for discovery that benefit tremendously from having full visibility across all of the platforms that you manage. The first one is to just simply get a list of the hardware that's involved in your environment. What network devices do you have? What storage devices? What servers? What desktops? The full list of discovery becomes available once you have a platform across which you can discover all of those environments. Once you've detected the hardware that's in use in your environment, you can start investigating that hardware to understand what software is installed. This is necessary for the software asset management solution, which we'll be talking more about later. Thirdly, once you have all of the hardware discovered and the software that's running on that hardware discovered, you can start building services that allow you then to manage your support from the context of the customers who are using that service. Finally, you have the opportunity to implement service governance, which is the ability to deploy policies across your environments and then measure each environment's compliance to those policies. For today's discussion, we're going to dive into the software asset management use case and understand how Universal Discovery can capture installed software and then why that's beneficial to the overall software asset management process implemented by Asset Manager X. So let's talk about discovering software and why that's important. The first aspect is simply adapting to a changing world. The biggest change we see is the adoption of the cloud platform in addition to on-premise locations for the installation of servers and the software that runs on them. We expect that by the end of this year, 90% of the enterprises we work with will be relying on some form of a cloud platform. Secondly, more and more software is being used. The software can be installed through company deployed installation packages or can simply be downloaded from the internet and placed onto somebody's computer. Another significant shift is working from home. While the pandemic drove us all home from the office, it's not sure yet whether we'll actually start returning, and it's important to have visibility to the software installed on company-owned resources that are now at the home. So what are the consequences of not doing discovery? The first one is an incomplete understanding of the software being used in your enterprise. If you're not discovering all of the cloud environments where virtual machines are running, you don't know what software is in use there, and that can cause problems. The biggest problem it will cause is failing a software audit. Our research indicates that about 60% of organizations will be audited at least once every 2 years, and those audit problems result in significant penalties, especially when you have an incomplete view of what software is being used in your enterprise. And lastly, if you're not discovering the software installed in your environment, you're increasing the risk of security breaches in your environment because you don't know what software is installed, and therefore you don't know when you are required to patch that software because of some vulnerability that was recently published. So with better software discovery, what would you be able to do? Well, first of all, you'll be able to respond correctly and quickly to audits as you get them. And this is because you've already done all of the work to understand what software is installed on all of your platforms, all of your servers, all across your enterprise, whether it's locally or in the cloud. And secondly, you'll better be able to control software costs. And this is beyond just the point in time of an audit. Better software discovery gives you visibility to the number of software packages you have installed. And if you're finding that you're paying for more packages than your enterprise is using, you can decide to work with your procurement team to reduce the cost of your annual support contracts. Thirdly, being aware of the software that's installed will give you visibility to the security risks you may or may not have in your enterprise. By knowing the versions of software that are installed and on what systems they are installed upon, you'll be able to make intelligent decisions quickly when a security vulnerability is made visible. Lastly, better software discovery will give you awareness of the work at home situation your company is currently existing within. You'll know how many desktops are at home and away, and you'll actually have detail to describe the software that's installed to them, even though they're not locally to you in your enterprise. So first, let's review the scope of what Universal Discovery is capable of. The first level is infrastructure and inventory discovery. This is capturing the servers and the desktops that you are running and the operating systems upon those, such as Windows or Windows Server, Mac OS, and a whole host of Linux variations. Next are the virtualization and cloud platforms that you may have in use. Examples are AWS or Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure. You can discover on-premise cloud capabilities like Cloud Foundry and OpenStack. You can discover Kubernetes on-premise or across any of the cloud platforms, as well as the Docker containers that are within that. And you can discover common virtualization platforms such as VMware and Hyper-V. Clusters and load balancers are next, such as EMC, Veritas, F5, and others. Database discovery allows you to capture database technologies and how they're configured across a wide range of database applications such as Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle Database, PostgreSQL, and others. And lastly, the application layer allows you to be able to discover those applications that are using all of this technology and represent it in a single model inside of your UCMDB. Examples will be Microsoft Exchange or SAP, or web software such as Microsoft IIS and Apache Tomcat, and middleware such as JBoss applications. Additionally, Universal Discovery can discover storage and network devices and can also map how those devices are shared amongst your server infrastructure. An important point to keep in mind is that software is installed everywhere, and it does not matter the hosting platform that is being used. Software is installed on physical devices, on virtual devices, on cloud devices, and on laptops and desktops. The other point is to know that management platforms themselves can't identify installed software. And here I'm talking about platforms like vCenter from VMware or the AWS console. These platforms will understand what type of server they have deployed and the operating system of that server and the physical configuration. But they can't see any details that the operating system itself knows about, because that's something that you control and is not controlled by the management platform that provisioned the hardware you're using. However, Universal Discovery can find it across all of these platforms. We use a process called software signatures, and we keep these signatures updated every month. So let's dive into this a little bit deeper. What I'm showing you here is the main screen for Universal CMDB. It shows all of the views that you have and the data that each of those views has collected. These views can be on any topics. Example, here's one that's showing some content for AWS, and they could be for Azure or GCP or VMware. And this one here is an example of the service model that we created in the tag-based service model solution. The topic of today's discussion is about inventory discovery. And for that, we'll take a look at the inventory page, which provides a collection of cards that are aligned upon a particular topic. The topic we're concerned about is installed software, and so there's different ways to be able to view this. This particular card here shows all of the nodes that you've detected and the ones that have software, and you can search to find the type of software that you would like to see. So we'll take a look at installed software that happens to contain the word probe to see which of these servers has Universal Discovery's probe on it. You see there's a whole collection of them. They all have the data flow probe. So just remember some of these, 206-5. You can also look at this from the other perspective, and that is the list of software and then the nodes upon which that software is installed. And so we can do the same thing. We can add a filter for installed software to be looking for the word probe. And you'll find the same number that are here, and you'll find some of those same servers that are here as well. So you'll see that that software is there, and that's the node that it's upon. So you can look at this from both directions. Once you're in one of these reports, you can also then export that data into an Excel spreadsheet for use offline. And there you go. If we search for the word probe, we would find the same systems that we found in the filters that we did on the screen. So as I've shown you, you can see the value of Universal Discovery in capturing and discovering the installed software that's across your enterprise on any kind of server. Servers can be your physical hosts or your virtual systems, or it can be on the cloud or even containers. The data that is then available to you inside of Universal SeemDB so that you can view it in a way that you find useful and then can download and send to partners inside of your organization. We have a large software library that is updated monthly so that you're always having current information being discovered as new software comes into your enterprise. Another point to make is that Universal Discovery knows the end of support dates for software from popular vendors such as Adobe, Citrix, IBM, Microsoft, and others. The end of support date is a date that the publisher documents that describes when it will end the support for that software, and most specifically, when security updates will no longer be available. This is useful to have inside of USeemDB because it can make you aware of when the application should be upgraded, and it can also reduce the risk of security vulnerabilities cropping up inside of your environment. Universal SeemDB has a collection of built-in reports that can help you identify this. An example would be the end of support in 30 days or even longer if you need. The end of support date comes specifically from the Centers for Internet Security and is updated monthly. Let's go take a look at what this actually looks like. Going back into Universal SeemDB, we can navigate to the reports page and then look at the end of support reports that are within the inventory folder. And you can see there are a collection of them here. So if I was interested to find out what software is within the next 30 days going to reach the end of support, I would simply run this report. And you can see there isn't anything on my particular instance of USeemDB that meets this criteria. If I wanted to look further in time, I could run another report that looks, say, in 6 months. And if I click on this one, you can see that I have 2 applications that will be running out of support by May 30th, 2022. That's about 4 months from now. So these would be applications where I would want to have an upgrade plan so that I can ensure that I stay current with the software applications from my vendors. And lastly, I might be curious about what installed software has already passed its end of support date. And in this case, I'm pulling up a report that actually has a lot of dates. And you can see that these dates range from all over the place. So with this information, it gives you the ability to be able to do something effective in your environment. You can manage the software and the upgrade plan that you have, and you can identify software that is nearing or past its end of support date to ensure that you stay on the most current that you can and to avoid security risks with vulnerabilities that are published constantly. One more point before we move on to software asset management, and that is that with Universal Discovery, you can also capture information in support of your Oracle licensing. When you have an engagement with Oracle with regards to their measurement of your use of their tools, you can use Universal Discovery and its Oracle licensing software to collect the information that Oracle will require from you. If you do not have Universal Discovery, you'll be required to run Oracle's measurement scripts individually on all of the servers that are hosting Oracle software. But with Universal Discovery, those same measurement scripts are actually run by Universal Discovery and are automated as part of the daily discovery you currently are performing. The next stop on our journey is the software asset management process, which is brought to you by Micro Focus's Asset Manager X tool. This tool is a single platform that provides visibility to all of your assets, as well as how those assets comply to the software asset management process itself. It does this through collecting information and presenting them in out-of-the-box dashboards that provide value to you right away, and it is fully integrated with Universal Discovery. Okay, so when you start the software asset management component of AMX, you're presented with the SAM Home, which is essentially a collection of charts that gives you an overview of what you're seeing. Some important points that we've talked about previously is that you get to see very quickly what products you have overspent. Overspending a product means that you have purchased more licenses than you're actually using. And then on the opposite side, you get to see which products are at risk. A product at risk means that you're using a product for which you do not have a license. In both cases, managing these to the 0 point is the direction you're wanting to go. The next chart is the actual software compliance. And so this shows information with regards to the applications that are installed on the servers and desktops in your environment. You can see at a glance which ones are compliant and non-compliant. And in this demo system, I don't have any compliant environments. If you would drill down in this to understand why you're not compliant, you can see how each application is broken up. In this particular application, there is a standard version and a pro version for Office 2019. And if I click on the standard version, I can drill down and see all of the servers or desktops that are actually using the software. In this case, you can see how many instances they're running and how many licenses they've actually consumed. In this particular case, there is a license for every person who's using the software. But in the case of the Office 2019 Pro, you can see the opposite situation here. We have 12 servers or desktops that are using the software, but we do not have any licenses available to them. So in this case, we are using software for which we do not have licenses available. And this is a scenario that you need to be aware of. You have two choices at this point. You can either purchase licenses so that you are using the software appropriately, or you can contact the people who are owning these systems and get the software off of that system. The next dashboard that I'll show has to do with the end of support that we talked about during the Universal Discovery discussion. This dashboard will show all of the applications in your environment that were discovered by Universal Discovery, where the end of support date was attached, and will show how many applications will be reaching that end of support date within a specific range of time. If we click on the one that's for the next 3 months, you can see that there are 2 applications here. And you can drill down into this list to identify the specific servers where the application is deployed. You can take a look at the end of support numbers for the next month, 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. And in all cases, you'll see the same behavior. The list of the applications, and then you can drill down into the actual systems upon where that application is deployed. This gives you the information you need to be able to protect yourself from upcoming security vulnerabilities that might occur if your application is not being updated any longer by the vendor from where you obtained it. As it is with Universal Discovery, there is new content being published for the Software Asset Management module of AMX with each release. Currently supported are Oracle, Microsoft, VMware, IBM, and Adobe license management, but new content and updated content is being released with each release of Asset Manager. Additionally, there's support for extending the SAM content on your own. You can integrate additional data sources into UCMDB, such as from Microsoft SCCM or ILMT BigFix software, and you can directly integrate the Software Asset Management module with Office 365. Additionally, there's the ability to build your own license model so that you can match it to your specific requirements if it differs from the standard. And there's an extensive SDK that allows you to build and create your own license management content. Okay, so now we've gone through the Universal Discovery and Software Asset Management capabilities individually. Let's review how they are the perfect match for each other. Universal Discovery gives you visibility to the software installed on all servers, laptops, and desktops. It can do this across cloud platforms, containerized, virtual, or physical. Software Asset Management has awareness for all of the vendor contracts you have in place for the packaged software you're using. As a result, you have protection against overspend or audit risk. You know if you're using more software than you actually have paid for. You also know if you have more licenses than you actually require. Another aspect of Universal Discovery is awareness of the end of support dates for software packages in use. Software Asset Management has compliance dashboards that allow you to view the software that's at risk, the software that will soon be out of compliance or no longer updatable. And as a result, this reduces your exposure to security risks. And lastly, Universal Discovery has the Oracle verification as part of its discovery. Software Asset Management provides a detailed analysis of Oracle license consumption, and when you put them together, this simplifies the response you have to Oracle audit.